Great. Greetings to this lovely Thursday. As announced, it's only me today. That's the reason why I'm sitting a little bit more in the middle and why the name is here. I just, out of convenience, just removed the thing for Danielle because it makes stuff easier for me. Yeah, so I don't know how much time um, we will spend together today since, yeah, typically I have Danielle to talk with me as well, but I wanted to keep up the schedule, be here, allow y'all to ask questions if you have some. The title already says I want to talk a little bit about the Wiki, which I have currently been building up and started to fill out more. If you already had a look, I think I put it in the support emails in the bottom now, but we don't link from it from like the Saving homepage yet, because it's fairly like mixed. There's still stuff, but I'll get into this in a second. Some more housekeeping. I want to have a live chat open now for Discord as well. So if you are already on the Discord, I think this should work now. I try to in the future update it like earlier that people know that stuff is going on. It's just like, yeah, I want to keep the schedule so that it's always here. But as you all know, or at least I think most of you know, we think that 3 o'clock Thursday is not the best time for people joining us live, but we hope that if you watch it back, and we see in the statistics that many of you do, yeah, that's the reason why we want to keep it going and why I feel like this is important. If you have suggestions for us to change things, please leave them in the comments below, write us on Discord or stuff like that. But yeah, let's get into it. So I already started tumbling into the whole wiki thing. Let me explain. One, and I think this is in the coding community always a joke. One big issue is that like documentation is hard, and keeping documentation like up to date always is hard as well. And so our documentation is no different. It has been a little bit behind for the longest time. Our white paper, which we try to sort of like still use because it's like the content is good, but it still says port 17 in there, or gate 17. I don't even remember at this point. Used to be called port 17, and we updated it to gate 17, and now of course it's the SPN. Same thing. But we updated it over the years, and so documentation always is behind. Documentation always is hard, and so yeah, it's not the easiest to keep updated. And I think Daniel, as a quick fix, added those FAQ features where he's like, I create GitHub issues, label them as FAQ, I format them in a specific way, and then they get auto edit onto our docs page. It was great because we now were able to like update guides and stuff like that much easier. Oh yeah, and already somebody on the Discord. Hello, if you're watching. Okay, I don't know if he's live. Cruel opophilia. Well, I will get to your questions later. If you post them again, that would be lovely. But I'll get to them later, of course, as well. So to the wiki. The situation there was with the GitHub issues that this always was a little bit weird. It had some great integrations into Portmaster as well, so that people were able to sort of like have in Portmaster the opportunity to search through the FAQs. And if you have not tried this yet, it's great. Like I, for instance, today when I was writing a Wiki article about like virtual machines, I went into Portmaster and just searched there for, I was not sure which things already got like requested and stuff. And the short thing is we don't officially support virtual machines at this point, but some work. And so I wrote a Wiki page about this because we get the question quite a lot. And so I wanted to have an up-to-date Wiki on this. But with the whole like via GitHub thing, it was not like linking between stuff was not great. Some of the links you would have to copy and paste because it was not properly rendered inside either Portmaster or like the page where we just render those GitHub issues and stuff. And so this is why we're like, okay, good, we need to update this. And I just looked for some options, and Wiki.js is what we're using, self-hosted, of course. And I think it looks great. It looks beautiful. And if you have any suggestions or want me to add a Wiki page or something, I will gladly get to it and just update it and get it going. I think it will be easier for us to update stuff. Also, for instance, and I think I can already say this, avoid the hack. I don't know who is behind it, but that person already had some great guide on how to sort of like make Portmaster compatible with iVPN. And so I reached out to him and asked if I can add this to the wiki. And I got the heads up, so I added it. And now he has like the opportunity to write stuff in the in the wiki as well, so directly. So maybe avoid the hack will have more articles in the wiki itself. So not sure. And if you are already an active part like of the community and stuff, reach out. The wiki is supposed to be sort of like a community wiki. I don't want to open it up for everybody to add anything. I think like Wikipedia has a lot more mods, and we don't have the capability to mod everything. So it's not a free-for-all, but if you want to have access, I can give you one. And the wiki is supposed to build up and have more guides, more up-to-date information, more compatibility lists which are up-to-date and stuff. And of course, using this software makes it a lot easier. And I think that's basically it. And I hope that many of the questions we get for this live stream, of course, as well, can end up in a wiki page. And so if you write to the support, you will get a lot more wiki pages, which have been probably specifically written for you, because then I will not have to answer this question in that detail ever again, because I answered it once very properly. Yeah, this might take a little bit longer now, of course, but I think like with the screenshots and stuff, I think it will be much better because they're easier to put in, easier to sort of like have them there and update them as Portmaster, of course, evolves and as we fix stuff and so on. So it will be up to date in the future, of course, as well. Okay. In regards to the question to community nodes, the question was, oh, that's a different one. Okay, you were asking about the community, but I'm answering the Mulvet thing maybe first. There are a lot of people who try to run Portmaster with the VPN, which you're already paying for. First off, I think, and this is a typical issue we have, and maybe I think I have not written a wiki page about this yet, but I should, presumably, about our stance and how I think about like VPNs in general. I guess everybody who is not here for the first time knows I think that VPN as technology is sort of like it is definitely not built for privacy. This we don't have to discuss, but I think it's not good for privacy either, because it's built for security, and security sort of like requires that you know who the other person is, which is inherently not private. If you, for instance, want to VPN home, great use case. but you want to make sure that it is you who is VPNing home, So the security aspect here is much greater, and you don't want anybody else being able to access your VPN connection to your home network. And I guess this also sort of like inherently like explains why VPNs are bad as well. For a second reason, and this is like if you VPN to something, you like have network level access to everything, which of course, from a security perspective, if you trust the other network, all is well. But if you're like sharing the server with tons of other people who you don't know, maybe a bit problematic. And of course, VPN providers like Molvad, they do their best to sort of like secure this and to sort of like separate all the different people on the server and stuff. But it takes effort. But now to the question that user has, because I of course understand as well. Like I have Proton VPN just because I have a Proton email address, and so I sometimes use it. And I don't and I would not tell people not to, of course, never use a VPN, because there are sometimes cases where it is useful, especially on mobile. Like if you are an SPN subscriber, thank you for supporting our work. But we are working on the Android app. But for iOS, there is no option yet. And for Android, like it will be there hopefully soon, in like a month or two, I think. Hot take here, I know. Some people would kill me maybe for saying this, but nobody else is in the office today. I can say whatever I want. But yeah, so it will take a little bit. And so I understand if you're like on mobile and if you're in an untrusted network, that you will probably trust somebody like Molvat or Proton more than like the public Wi-Fi which you're using, or the network of like the university or school where you're at. And I so understand. Like back when I was in university, like I first off had my own SIM card, which I used often as well. But if like the cell service was too bad, I typically, if I use the Wi-Fi, I turned on a VPN, and which of course then means like I tunnel past like this untrusted network, but I have to trust the VPN service and all the people who are in control of that server. Violet, thank you. Yeah, for telling me that you like SPN. I hope you enjoy the service. We have been improving it over the last couple of like weeks and months. Like the last update should have been brought a great boost, but we found like with increased traffic we need to do some more fixes. But as I said, like I'm alone in the office today. We have vacation time in Austria at the moment, and many people are skiing. So yeah, I'm here and doing stuff and enjoying it. And Danielle sort of like worked while being on vacation as well. So some quick fixes to the SPN network were done, but please be a little bit patient throughout the week. Great. So back to Cruel Ophelia. He was asking, or Ophelia. The user was asking if it's like okay to change the DNS setting. And I guess this is back to the trust thing. Like if you like trust Molvat, and of course I guess you do if you are like already in like Molvat's pocket, and if you're already paying them, like not in a bad way. I think Molvat is a reputable VPN provider, but like they will tell you, of course, to use their DNS. Safing is not offering a DNS service on its own. We are only offering you options to sort of like pick other DNS providers, which we think are like trustworthy. The default, of course, is Cloudflare, and Cloudflare, of course, is like maybe a little bit controversial. It's not the most privacy respecting. I go ahead and say that. The reason why we picked it was because Quad 9, which is more privacy respecting, has been slower for the longest time than Cloudflare, and the number one complaint we got is speed. And DNS over TLS is slower than regular DNS because there's some encryption stuff there as well. People sort of like I installed Portmaster, now my internet is slower, and I'm like, this is not the case. It just like takes a little bit longer for this initial connection because of DNS over TLS. But we kept those like questions coming up so much that we changed it to Cloudflare. In the install process, we tell you, and we give you the quick options, and Portmaster has the quick options in there as well, where you can change the different DNS settings very easily and fast. And Quad 9, I still say, is maybe a good option. We know that some people like different providers. For instance, I even have a sticker for the Foundation for Applied Privacy. They're in Vienna, in Austria, here as well. Great people, have met them. I got them in person. But their DNS server, of course, is in Europe. So if you're anywhere else, if your connection has to travel to Europe to get the DNS request back, additional time, additional latency. This is the reason why Quad 9 is good. They have multiple like locations, they have multiple servers, and of course Cloudflare has so much more locations and servers and stuff. So this is the reason why Cloudflare is very fast, of course, as well. This is the reason why it's the default. Now, can you change it to Mulvad? And I know it's a very lengthy approach to get there, but you see it's a very nuanced situation, I'd say. Just like saying, well, this is better or this is worse. It's not as easy as that. You sort of like have to understand what are the drawbacks. With Mulvad, maybe one thing which I was not sure because it was discussed in a Discord, it looks like this is not a DOT connection. It looks like it's just a regular plain DNS, which of course, like if you're inside a VPN tunnel and then that DNS server is like right there on the exit or like in the same data center, it's not that big of a deal because like everything is encrypted up to the point where you're like connecting into the same data center like server, and in there like basically anyone with access to the data center has access to that data anyway. So like there is no additional layer of trust needed there. But if you're like then turning off the VPN tunnel and you're like back to the plain like open internet, having an encrypted DNS is better, because then of course it's not plain text, it cannot be read clearly from anybody else and stuff. So I'd say this is maybe a caveat there. If Mulvad is using an like encrypted tunnel, which as I'm saying, I'm not 100% sure. I just saw it quickly. If they use an encrypted tunnel, then still like what I said earlier is the case. Like I don't know where they have their DNS servers. I can imagine it's not too many. Like this is not their main business. VPN tunnels are. And so I'd still think that Cloudflare is faster, but maybe not so privacy respecting. Quad 9 should be faster and is more privacy respecting. And also like spreading out the information is not a bad thing in that regard as well. But that's for you to decide. I think like the CEO of Cloudflare had on Naomi Backwell's like YouTube channel a small segment, and I think last week's or like 2 weeks ago on a video. So if you have not watched it, I think he's a great guy. I think we interacted with him directly, or Daniel did. Maybe we wrote some emails with him. Because as I said, like when we were like implementing secure DNS for Portmaster, we wanted to opt for Quad 9 initially, and it did not work. And so they reached out to us. They saw that we were like doing stuff, trying to sort of like do the TLS handshake and things, and seeing that it breaks, and seeing that it takes too long and stuff like that. And they worked together with us. They were not fast enough, and maybe we will change the default to Quad 9 in the future. We will see. If you want us to, let us know. Write us an email, leave a comment below. I'd always be happy to hear and know what your thoughts are. So I hope I went into the question clearly. There are some follow-up texts, which I, of course, being alone, have to read quickly. So if maybe there's a mullet question afterwards. I will get to that. A question between I got there is Portmaster is it possible to block Windows 10/11 telemetry using Portmaster? Of course, like one of the things I do is I block Bing globally in my Portmaster, which like gets rid of a lot of Microsoft annoyances. In some cases, you have to be a little bit like explorative, I'd say, in that you will have to look into certain domains, maybe need to be like blocked for a subdomain and then allowed for a shorter like top level domain. And then with the order of how you do it in Portmaster, that's important, of course, as well. Block, it's from top to bottom, so you would have to block the subdomain first and then allow the domain below it, or I think it would do it anyway and stuff like that. So be a little bit careful when you start blocking stuff from Microsoft itself, but in general, you can. Like, I do it all the time. My Windows 11 install and my Windows 10 installs like all work fine, and it's all good. What is it within Portmaster that I should block? I don't understand the question completely. I'm like, as I said, like I would go for global settings first, but I will do a wiki page for this. I already thought about this. Also, like we already have an FAQ on how to sort of like go about to blocking a connection or allow an incoming connection, but troubleshooting is always hard. Like I think I saw today somebody on the GitHub who was asking about like, I run this thing in through the terminal and I don't see the terminal like doing a connection. And of course, the terminal application is not doing the connection. It's the process you start from within the terminal, which is doing the connections. And so what Portmaster sort of like requires of you is knowing which process you are actually starting. And typically like on Windows as well, like if you double click on one of those icons, the icon has a name, but it's just a link which only starts a process. And this process sometimes starts 2 or 3 different other processes, which then in fact actually do like the connections. And for instance, what I figured out, like Battle.net, like the Blizzard launcher thingamajig, it's like multiple applications running next to each other and processes, and they actually talk with each other through the network stack itself as well. So you see outgoing and incoming connections, and you will have to look at like the IP address, and you will have to sort of like look into where it's going. And of course, Portmaster tells you that it's a local connection, like on the same device, but it looks weird. And if you don't know this, and I think we can do a better job in the future of explaining this, but like programs like that are weird, and I think especially games and stuff are in particular bad in like how they're built and how they interact with each other, and it's not very like natural, and you as the user don't always, it's not always the easiest way. And we have a couple of ideas on how to improve this, but this will take some time to figure out how to display it in a way that makes sense and that allows you to sort of like understand it better. And this is why I will probably do a wiki page and how I do it. How do I investigate and get into all of those things? Okay. Ophelia, no. Go ahead and ask questions. There will be some like pauses because I'm reading, but all is well. And if this works, like with the Discord thing, I think we will keep it like that. Like there will always be the announcement post, and I will create a thread inside it, and you will be able to write there, of course, as well, if you don't want Google to see all of the things there. So the question was, how do I know which process to block for the telemetry? This is a great question, and I cannot, like, I think we should do, like, first off, let me start like this. First off, Portmaster, our goal for Portmaster is to give you all the options to block whatever you want, but out of the box, it should work. The reason for that is that I want to be able to recommend Portmaster to everybody so that they can get the tools they need and start learning the tools they need to improve their privacy. But like the main goal there is don't break stuff. Like if we would break your internet connection, which like 3 years ago has been a typical problem with Portmaster. And as I started earlier, and as I think you maybe have found as well, like this sometimes still is the case if you have VPN software installed or like some antivirus software stuff, which also tries to work with the network stack is sometimes an issue. But if you're new to privacy in general, and if you have not installed anything else yet, and you're like still using Google Chrome or maybe God forbid Edge, no, Edge is not that bad, but like if you sort of like went into that direction and you're just like, okay, now I want to start taking my privacy more serious, installing Portmaster should like improve your privacy immediately. The reason being that like your DNS will be encrypted out of the box. You don't have to do anything except install and click through all the buttons. The second thing is there are filter lists in place already. And Portmaster is by default blocking a lot of connections. We got somebody writing in, and I think I told this already last week, but somebody like wrote an email about how excited he was that his Spotify had 95% of its connections blocked, and he was still able to play music, you know? And I don't know if there were some custom settings changed in there as well. But that's basically it, you know, like learning what to sort of like block and stuff and going deeper and like out of the box having already an improved privacy, not the best, not the like siloed down most hardcore privacy that you can get, but a very much improved privacy. This is the goal for Safing. And then sort of like giving you the options and tools to sort of like learn and grow your knowledge and your understanding of how your system works, and then of course having like everything in place that you can actually like then act on that knowledge and improve your privacy step by step. So how do you like know which process is a telemetry process? If it's very like clearly only telemetry, it should be in one of the filter lists. If you find something that's not, contact us. We are going to edit, you know. This is so not a controversial thing. Like we are adding every telemetry thing, which we have found. But yeah, we're not actively, like we can't actively look for stuff like that. We are concentrating on making Portmaster better. And we sort of like incorporate different lists from other people and recommendations from users and stuff like that to then like we rely on that part on others who are like doing that work. We're only making it available as a tool inside Portmaster through the privacy filter. So just go ahead. I would encourage everybody, just go ahead if you think like somebody needs to have less access to the internet, just try it. It's very easy. Sometimes a restart of the application is required so that that you maybe see if the application has a backup connection, which it tries to then start or something. You can always, if you don't trust an application, put it in reverse, sort of like block everything and then only allow the connections which you want. For that exact reason, Danielle even thought about maybe having an learning option as well, because currently we have allow, block, or prompt, but maybe a learning thing where it creates rules for every connection it sees. And then you can sort of like go through and then block everything you don't understand, try if it works, and then you're golden. Like this is basically how I usually do it. But I already updated in the Wiki the page on how to figure out what's going on, like how you can do lookups. Check out the Wiki, wiki.safing.io, and then in the FAQ, and there's already an article in there for how to figure out what like the service is behind the IP address. That's already there. Okay. Yeah, Orphelia says that the trust of Mulvad is there, or to Mulvad is there, and I understand. No, I understand. Yeah, no, that's basically it. We would love to work with them. I think they restored compatibility from their client with Portmaster. They broke it a couple of times in the past. I would not say it's their fault. It's just them trying to do best for their users, and not all of them are running Portmaster. I so understand, and we're trying to do the best for our users, and like I think not that many are running Mulvat, and so there is an overlap definitely, but it's not too great. And so I understand them focusing on their customers and us focusing on our customers, like Violet. Thank you, Violet, again for subscribing to Portmaster Unlimited. Yeah, but going further, Portmaster Access. Ryan, hey, welcome. I am Ryan. If you're new and if you only started watching, I'm currently answering questions from the Discord. So this is why I'm leaning over and trying to read here. Yeah. So we already have that. I'm going a little bit into troubleshooting questions here, but the topic is the Wiki today, so I think this is perfect. Yeah, so we already have guides on how to sort of establish compatibility, and sometimes it's a matter of reducing functionality in Portmaster to the point where it's of course harder to use. I think, yeah, today I saw something on GitHub where somebody was like, I only see domains like IP addresses in Portmaster now, and I'm like, you're removing the domain capabilities out of Portmaster. Of course you're not seeing domains anymore. Like, you're reducing it down to a basic firewall at that point. If you like turn off all the smart stuff, then it's getting dumber. That's basically it. But we offer you to sort of do that with Portmaster. Like, it's out of the box. As I said, we try to have a good user experience, but we don't feel like we want to force you into anything. So you can turn off stuff. And I think the Wiki already is a good place to go and start and learn on what stuff you can turn off, which order we recommend doing this. Because turning everything off is usually not the best idea. You should try to keep as much functionality as you can. And basically, when it comes to DNS, you have the option to sort of usually have the application, the other application, which is not doing a system-wide DNS over TLS thing, which Portmaster of course does. Then the option would be to sort of in Brave, for instance, disable secure DNS, because Brave only focuses on Brave itself. And so if you disable it in Brave, then Brave will do regular DNS requests. Portmaster will see them, intercept them, pick them up, cancel the unencrypted DNS request, do an encrypted one, and Brave does not even know that there has been somebody else messing with the DNS request. So Portmaster is very behind the scenes here, so to speak. Yeah, so this is basically how DNS typically then works. You can disable it in that application. Sometimes if it needs a DNS setting in there, Brave, for instance, does not. But if your VPN, for instance, needs one, there is a guide in the Wiki what to put in there. It's basically a localhost thing then, so that the VPN application knows that there is this locally running other application which is doing the DNS resolving for it. Of course, in that case, the VPN app will know that Portmaster is there, and it's not a behind-the-scenes thing. And Orphelia, I gladly answer questions. Doing this every second week, so hope to see you in 2 weeks again. But yeah, no, we try to have one main topic and then go into questions for people. So this is typically how this goes. Great. So Ophelia, if those questions are all answered, I'm happy. Yeah. Again, like if you see something in the wiki which you don't feel like is good explained, tell me. If you have a guide on how you like established compatibility with something, or like have a clue on how it worked, write us an email, wiki@safing.io. Then we can incorporate that into the wiki itself. And if enough like people are writing this in, I think it will be a great tool for people to sort of like, yeah, establish compatibility and get Portmaster working with stuff. And if you found something where you're like, those are all the trackers you want to get blocked out, write us so we can add them to a filter list. Or just write us in general, and maybe we add them to sort of like a more nuanced wiki page where we can tell you, well, this, if you disable all of those things, this will break this, this, and this, and sort of like be aware of that and be sure that you want that, because of course some people would not want that, but some people might, because of the added privacy. Thank you, Ophelia, for the personal compliment here. I try to be patient. It's it's a couple of it's long days at the moment. So if I come across rude, I'm sorry. And of course, in writing, I try to be nice, but I know from experience myself, the written word sometimes comes across a little bit more rude than it should. So I'm very sorry. Ah, yeah, we try. So yeah, because Portmaster is a fairly, I'd say, complex application. I think I can say that. We try to make it as simple as possible. We try to sort of like have those different views as well. And this is a plan for the future, that we want to make the simple view actually simpler than the advanced view and stuff like that. So there will be improvements like this coming in the future, of course, as well. But yes, the question here is like that sometimes reading through the wiki, you miss something. This is, yeah, this just happens. It's, yeah, nobody I think is to blame here. If you find something that where you're like, well, maybe highlight this, let me know as well. This is the reason why we moved to the wiki, because then we have it easier to format. It does not like have to be in GitHub and then be transported over into our docs page and then like being rendered in Portmaster itself as well, which we want to reintroduce, like having the wiki in Portmaster, but maybe it will just be like the headlines and then you click on it and then it opens the wiki page or something like that. So yeah. Ryan, yeah, it's already called a simple view. I understand that you would love this. And I think the confusing bit is at the moment that the simple view is not that simple. But basically, if you look in the top right, it already says simple view, and then you have an advanced view. And the advanced view actually gives you more information. And typically, like what I said about like the wiki page that's already there, where you can sort of like, where it tells you how you investigate a connection. It tells you that you see more in the advanced view. And I think for most, and it explains what the stuff is you're seeing there. But for instance, most of that information is not too useful, and it's sort of like it actually is advanced, but not too useful for people who are like just like regular users. And so we know that the simple view is not simple enough at this point. It's not simple, and we don't want to make it simple in the sense of, and this was always the case, not in the way of simple, that it tells you not like, that it sort of like dumbs down stuff, but simple in the way that you can easily and quickly do stuff. And stuff like allowing or blocking domains should be simple. And in the simple view, it's still a double click situation. And so for the future, and I hope, Ryan, you will appreciate that as well. We want to make it a one-button action, like you see in the network monitor, everything from top to bottom, and then have a one-button interaction there in simple view. Basically, of course, you will like then do this a little bit more blind, and we have been sort of like scared of making stuff like this too easy, because we were like, well, you would probably want to know it, wouldn't you? But then, like, who are we to say that you would want to know more? And so we sort of like started to realize that people just want to experiment more and don't want to investigate as much and stuff, and we're all fine with that. We just learn how we thought about how people are going to use the software, and now we understand how they're actually using it, so we're adapting and hopefully providing a better experience. If you have, like, Ophelia is saying that there's a dump file of an error that happened, you can send us stuff like that. We will delete everything after we are done. We like the private bin, and maybe that's an interesting topic here as well. I don't know if we talked about this on the live stream. We are very like privacy conscious, of course, and so when you send, and this is also the reason why I tell people don't send stuff through Discord. I know we're using Discord mainly because we asked and people were like, I already have a Discord account, I don't want to create another one, and so this is why Discord. But the private bin which we're using auto deletes information, so it's not. This is the reason why we have the setup. If you send a report or like a bug with debug information from within Portmaster, it's not plain text email. It's like creating this private bin entry, and it will be deleted automatically. So any data that is in there will be gone automatically. If you, of course, send us an information dump, like from your device or anything, this, of course, is not in the private bin. It will be sent through plain email. Yeah, if you have looked through it and if you're okay with the information that's been sent, please do. It helps us. Portmaster is not sending back any of that information. So sometimes if stuff starts breaking on people's devices, we have no clue. And if nobody's telling us, we have no clue. And so help like that is a lot appreciated, and maybe we will have something implemented which makes this a more private interaction, of course, as well. But at the moment we don't. And so Ophelia, if you're so great and send it, please do. I think Daniel, when he's back from vacation, will gladly have a look. Maybe Vladimir will have a look earlier, but he is deep in the Android app at the moment. So I'd like him to keep working on Android, so you all get the Portmaster on Android sooner. Yeah, Ryan. Yeah, looking forward to the simple view. Yeah, simple view. Yeah, me too. Me too. Just because it makes stuff easier and quicker. You know, going in, and I typically have my Portmaster in simple view as well, because like typically I don't need all that information. I want to see less or like denser information and have everything like right there. And so, and there are even some great ideas of like community posts. Somebody did a mock-up of how to maybe do some profiling and use colors in a way that makes stuff easier. And we wanted to introduce like a notes feature maybe as well, sort of like to make what Ophelia was asking, like in regards to what stuff to track, like block, what trackers of Windows maybe to block and stuff, maybe add some functionality there. Not sure yet. At the moment, everything Portmaster does is very much like kept in RAM to not have any permanent data. Of course, if you block something in a block list, this blocking of a connection is stored on the hard drive. But like maybe we will do some notes field and stuff like that that will enable investigation a little bit better. But at the moment, I think, as I said, like if you have done some investigations, the simple view would stay simpler if we would have this information like in a filter list and have it there for everybody, so that it's easier and stuff. So that's auto blocked and yeah, does not get in the way. And of course, if it's already blocked and maybe you don't want it blocked, you can always enable stuff. Like the filter lists are sort of like a very weak tool. It's like strong in the regards that every Portmaster installation has those filter lists. Not all are enabled, of course. Like in the setup views, you see which filter lists are there, and you can enable or disable any lists you like. Maybe if you have not seen that, you can also expand those lists. Like it's categories and you have lists inside there. So you can expand it and get a little bit more granular there as well. And we are very transparent on where those filter lists are coming from. So maybe have a look there. But yeah, so it's very strong in the way that it's blocked on all Portmaster devices, which have those filter lists enabled. But it's very weak in that it's very easy for you to sort of like override this behavior and tell like, no, this application is like allowed to connect to whatever. Like Bing is allowed, but like if we would add Bing to the filter list, you could say no, I like Bing. I don't like I don't like you telling me not to use Bing. So yeah. That's, I think, fairly easy. Great. I give you a couple of seconds if there are any questions left. Otherwise, I think I call it a live stream and be gone for the next, be gone, keep on working for the next weeks. Yes, valid, a backup feature. You know, what's funny? The internet, of course, never forgets. And I wrote a blog post, I think it was in January 2022. So it's a year ago, over a year ago, about what features we will introduce with Portmaster V1, which of course has been out for like months now already. And backup and restore was part of that list. I know it was not shipped with it. Basically, the reason for that was that I would have loved to have it in there, but like everything else got completed earlier, and then we asked ourselves, shall we keep like the V1 release back just because this is not part of it? And I made the call, and I was like, no, the Portmaster from a functionality perspective is done. It's just like this is an extra feature. It's not core functionality. Let me tell you, Violet, why we like what is difficult from a backup and restore perspective. You can already sort of like extract the data, and if you, for instance, deinstall and reinstall Portmaster, you can choose to leave the data there. The settings, like the system settings, will all get reverted, but like all your filter list settings and stuff like that, I think the DNS setting and stuff, all this will stay. And if you reinstall Portmaster later, it will see that this information is there and integrate it into the new install. It's still like from a network and from a system level, like Windows or Linux itself, it's new, but Portmaster sort of like restores your old settings with all the drawbacks, of course, as well. Like if you misconfigured Portmaster, it will be misconfigured again. So yeah, it's sort of a clean install. But so there is already the capability here. And I think in some cases when people reached out, maybe I will write a wiki page on how to sort of like move this data from one device to the next. But the situation there is that how Portmaster currently attributes, like what application is doing the connection, is by sort of like looking where the process is like on your device. Like where is this process coming from? Which has issues, and we have had different models on how to do this. Of course, it's like one thing on doing this live, like when the application tries to do its connection, and if we would have to hash the application to have a checksum, if it's the same each time, then of course that would be like not very useful. And if the application hasn't, because it takes time, and we would have to wait for this. And if the application updates, the hash changes and stuff like that. So we have had many ideas. We've thrown out a couple. And so at the moment, one of the things, not the only one, but one of the things how Portmaster currently does, its profile, like separation is by file path. And if you would change the file path, like on another device, maybe just your user is called differently, and this application is running in your user like space, like slash user, and for the other it's slash user 2, then this export and import would not work. And you would expect it to have worked, but it's not. And so we would have to have some regex functionality in there that allow you to sort of like smartly do this and stuff like that. So it is powerful, I agree. And in the future, absolutely. No, as I said, like I wanted to have this done already, but it's like we want to not have it that dumb and confusing that like if you would use it, you would be frustrated. So we rather not offer it as a feature officially, just because it's like, yeah, not that easy. But you can edit it now. Maybe that was part on moving it to that, so that you can now like move it and then edit it afterwards, so that the profile applies even if the path had changed and stuff like this. And we're getting there. I hope, I think. But Valid, it is sort of like a little bit later. It got pushed. We also asked our community, like the Portmaster supporter and unlimited subscribers on the Discord. We asked them what feature they want next. And I think I said this like quite often already on the live stream, but the next feature will be the mini stats. It's a Portmaster. It's not an SPN feature. It's a core Portmaster feature. And what it will be is like a little, and they already saw it. It's a little, almost like in Brave, where you see like a number of how many connections were blocked totally on the system, how many DNS requests were upgraded to go through TLS and stuff like that. And so this was the feature that was voted on, and this will come before we do the import-export thing. Yeah. I hope this answered that question as well. Again, for everybody who's watching later, I had the YouTube chat now open. I had the Discord chat open. If you can make it in 2 weeks to be live here, it is 3 o'clock Thursdays every other week. So I will be back here in 2 weeks. I think with Daniel next time as well. Not sure though. February is a little bit weird for us. But yeah, I will be here. If you found this helpful, please come again. You can also write questions in the comments below, so I can answer them next time maybe. We'll see. Or like, write an email, hello@safing. I think the email is in the description as well. Check out the wiki, wiki.safing.io. I think I will put the link in the description below. It's not on the homepage yet because it's, as I said at the beginning, it's a little bit like not fleshed out yet. There are a couple of links back to the current documentation, but it will get improved, and I think it will overtake the documentation, the current one, fairly quickly. Other than that, thank you for watching. If you find Portmaster helpful in any way, please consider supporting our work. We already had Valid as a subscriber here. Thank you so much. What we do is for the community, is for privacy in general, and yeah, we love that we are able to do this, and it's only through the support of all of you. So thank you for that, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.